Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The sound is okay? Reading from Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter 13, text number 25, text page 670, 670. Dayena mani pashyanti Kechiramana Atmana Anje Sankena Yogena Karma Yogena Chiptapare. Word for word. Jnana, my meditation. Harmony, within the self. Pashanti, see. Chit, some. Harmanam, the super soul. Harmana, by the mind. Anye, others. Shankena, a philosophical discussion. Yogena, by the yoga system. Karma Yogena, by activities without fruit of desire. Ka, also. Apare, others. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Some perceive the super soul within themselves through meditation, others through the cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without fruit of desires. Purport. The Lord informs Arjuna that the conditioned soul can be divided into two classes as far as men's search for self-realization is concerned. Those who are atheistic, agnostic, skeptics are beyond the sense of spiritual understanding. But there are others who are faithful in their understanding of spiritual life, and they are called introspective devotees, philosophers, workers who have results, fruited results. Those who always try to establish the doctrine of monism are also counted among the atheists and agnostics. In other words, only the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are best situated in spiritual understanding because they understand that beyond this material nature are the spiritual world, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is expanded as the Paramatma, Super Soul, and everyone, all-pervading Godhead. Of course, there are those who try to understand the Supreme Absolute Truth by cultivation of knowledge. They can be counted in the class of faithful. The Shankar philosophers analyze this material world into 24 elements, and they place the individual soul as the 25th item. And they're able to understand the nature of the individual soul to be transcendental to the material elements. They are able to understand also that above the individual soul is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the 26th sixth element. Thus, gradually they also come to the standard of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Those who work without fruitive results are also perfect in their attitude. They are given a chance to advance to the platform of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Here it is stated there are some people who are pure in consciousness and try to find out the Supersoul by meditation. When they discover the Supersoul within themselves, they become transcendently situated. Similarly, there are others who try to understand the Supersoul, the Supreme Soul, by cultivation of knowledge. And there are others who cultivate the Hatha-yoga system and who try to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by childish activities. Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaham Bhakti Sapadantikam. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Guru Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. This is the 13th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, and verses 20 to 26 talk about Prakriti, Purusha, and their union. Prakriti is the material nature, Purusha is the enjoyer, Supreme Lord. So, Prabhupada starts out this purport by saying that there are two classes of men. As far as two classes, as far as men's search for self-realization is concerned, those who are atheistic, agnostic, and skeptic are bound in the sense of spiritual understanding. And those who are faithful in their understanding of spiritual life, they're called introspective devotees, philosophers, and workers who renounce fruitive activities. So we know four classes of men: the Muda, Radhama, Ashrim Bhava, Maya Prakriti Jnana, and Ashrim Bhava, the atheists. So atheists say there's no God. And you do whatever you like, you're not responsible for your activities. So there's 6 philosophies that are mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavad, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, by different personalities who are all atheists. And Krishna saw that his father was going to perform a sacrifice. He said, "Father, what are you doing?" And Nanda Maharaj said, "Well, you're just a child. You can't understand these things." And Krishna said, No, you shouldn't keep secrets from family members. I want to know what this arrangement you're making. So Nanda Maharaj said, we're going to worship Indra because we're Vaishyas, and Indra supplies rain. So we think we have to perform a sacrifice to Indra. But Krishna said, there's no need to worship Indra. He spoke karma mimamsa philosophy. He said Indra doesn't really have anything to do with rainfall. The rain falls on the land, the rain falls on the ocean, where it's not needed, so it's not really Indra that does that, so you don't need to worship Indra. Better you worship Govardhan Hill. So Krishna gave them this the atheistic philosophy and stopped the Indra Yajna. Then there are people called agnostics who don't know anything about God and don't care anything about God. Just go on with their life thinking that they're the enjoyer. They can get, do whatever they want. Hambogi, Ishvara Hambogi. I have so much wealth today, so tomorrow I'll get more. If someone stands in my way, I'll kill him. People think like that. And the more money they have, the more they want to get. And they don't have to give any credit to God. One man got in a serious airplane accident. He was in the hospital for a long time and finally recovered. And he thought it was by his own endeavor that he was able to recover. He didn't give any credit to God. But Rakhe Krishna Mare Krishna Rakhe Ke. Krishna wants you to live, no one can kill you. Krishna wants you to die, no one can save you. But this man was very proud of the fact that he cured himself. Even though the doctor said he would never walk again, he would never be normal. But somehow by his strength, his determination, he did cure himself, but he didn't give any credit to God. He thought it was all his own endeavor. So that's an agnostic. And then there's the skeptics. Skeptics are people like the scientists. The scientists say, if you can't perceive something by experiment, if you can't see it, then it doesn't exist. But there are many places in the world, in far-off countries, that we hear about. We've never seen it. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We all were born, and when we're 1 or 2 years old, we don't remember our being alive at that time. It doesn't mean we didn't exist. We still existed. So, when Prabhupada was speaking to scientists in the garden in Los Angeles, he said, the first thing he said, we're saying Krishna is God. Why don't you take it? You don't know who God is. But, so we're saying Krishna is God, so you should take it. Because many people went to Prabhupada and said, can you show me God? Well, Prabhupada, one should not think that to see God is a cheap thing. The Bhagavad-Gita says that foolish living entity cannot understand how he accepts his body or quits his body under the three modes of material nature. But one who has eyes of knowledge, Jnana Chakshus, can see all this clearly. The endeavoring transcendentalists can see all this. But those who are not engaged in self-realization and whose minds are not developed cannot see what is taking place, though they try to. So, He's the Maya Prakriti Gyan. They have some knowledge. Prabhupada gave them some credit that they had some profound knowledge. They have some knowledge about the material world and how things are going on, but it's limited. And every living entities are imperfect senses, so they can make so many kinds of instruments to look into the sky, see what's in the sky. But that instrument is imperfect because it's made by imperfect senses. So they come up with the conclusion that there's no life on any other planet, and that they have they don't give credit to God. They don't think there's any God in control. They think the material world is going on by its own, by itself. They're the cause of the material world. They can't explain how the material world began. One place in the Bhagavatam, 7th canto, purport Prabhupada says, they give the chunk theory. That's a big ball came from nowhere, and all of a sudden Earth came into existence. But they can't explain where the chunk came from. Or they want to say there was a big bang. They took a bunch of dynamite and they exploded it, and all of a sudden the world came into existence. So these are all foolish kinds of speculation. The scientists, they start their discourses by saying, maybe, perhaps, it's like this, like that. And then they give them Nobel Prize. And one day I challenge the scientists. Scientists say, we can create life, and someday we're going to create life in the laboratory by chemical arrangement. I think life comes from chemicals. So one day I challenged them, can you create life? Can you bring back a dead tree or a dead insect? And the man had to admit that we cannot say. So they're bluffing everyone. Everyone's put their faith in the scientists because they have a nice position in the material world as being authoritative about so many things. But Prabhupada wasn't fooled by the scientists. Even in 1969, he was in England and he was watching the moon landing. He watched the whole thing and he turned off the television and said they never went to the moon. So Prabhupada wasn't fooled like everybody else. The whole world was fooled to thinking that the United States was so great, the United States had so much technology, and that they could go to the moon. But if we read the 5th canto, we can understand that the moon is farther away than the sun, and to go there in 3 days is not possible. There's no technology like that. And to go there and come back and bring back a few rocks and say that it's just a desert. And Krishna says it in the 15th chapter, that by my energy I enter on all the planets they sit in orbit. I become the moon, supply the juice of life to all vegetables. So they brought back some rocks, but they're not growing any vegetables from those rocks. How can you get rocks from vegetables? Or vegetables from rocks? So it was a bluff. They bluffed the entire world in thinking they went to the moon, spent $24 billion, never went again, and now they're saying they're going to go somewhere else, go to Mars, or here or there, or, that they're technology. They say they don't have the technology to go to the moon anymore, but they still are reluctant to admit that they didn't go to the moon. They will never admit it, but they have so much evidence proving that it was not possible for a human being in this material body to go to another planet and survive, because each planet is, according to each planet, there's a different combination of the three modes of material nature, and we get a body according to that nature. If you live on the sun planet, you get a fire body. If you live on the moon planet, you get a planet according to the moon. If you live on this planet, you get an earth body. So in this way, you can't live there, you can't go there, and you can't live there unless you have the proper karma, or according to your karma, living in is wandering. Prakriti kriyamana ni guna karmani savcha ankara vimuda mahakata iti manyate. So he's living in is bewildered by the three modes of material nature. So these three, atheists, agnostics, and skeptics, are beyond the senses and can never realize God. And he says also the monists are among the atheists and agnostics. That means the Mayavadis. And when Prabhupada was interviewed by one man, the man asked him, what will happen if the whole world becomes Krishna conscious? And Prabhupada said, you don't have to worry about that. You'll never become Krishna conscious. So usually he would say something else like the whole world will become happy and peaceful. But in this case, he knew this man's mentality. He was challenging Prabhupada. He's a challenger. So he said, in your case, you'll never become Krishna conscious. So this is the way of these atheists, agnostics, skeptics. They cannot become Krishna conscious. And monists also are counted among the atheists and agnostics, because they say God does not have a form. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares, he was doing kirtan. He took Mayavadi sannyas out of social convention, but he was never a Mayavadi. He gave up his Brahmin thread and put on Mayavadi dress. Some say he gave up his Sikha and Brahmin thread. And although he looked like a Mayavadi, he would never associate with the Mayavadis. And he would just do kirtan. So the Mayavadis didn't like that. Prakasananda Saraswati was the leader of the Mayavadis. He said, this sannyasi is sentimental, and there's no need for such a person here in Kashi. But when Lord Chaitanya met the Mayavadis and heard their philosophy, their Mayavadi philosophy, he defeated their philosophy and turned them all to Vaishnavas. Because Mayavadis not only don't believe in that God has a form, but they're the most offenders, because they say God doesn't have hands or legs or arms or eyes or nose or any of these things. And there's some verses that appear like Mayavadi philosophy, but they're not. When Advaitacharya was studying Bhagavad-Gita, came across one verse in chapter 13, 14, and he became a little confused. He couldn't understand that. verse. So he went to sleep that night. Chapter 13, text number 14. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads, and faces, and his ears he has ears everywhere. In this way the Supersoul exists, pervading everything. So Jacharya couldn't understand that verse. So he fasted, he didn't eat that night, he went to sleep. And when he was sleeping, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to him in a dream and said, Acharya, why are you fasting? Get up and take your meal, and I'll explain the meaning to this verse. So Mahaprabhu would come there whenever Acharya had some confusion, and explain everything to him clearly. That this verse is not talking about Mayavadi philosophy, but it's talking about the all-pervasiveness of the Super Soul. And in this way, the Lord Chaitanya told the Mayavadi sannyasi, said to Lord Chaitanya, you're a sannyasi, the Mayavadi in our line, so you should just study Vedanta. That's the business of Mayavadis. So Lord Chaitanya said that my spiritual master called me a fool. And he said, you can't understand Vedanta, so you simply chant and dance. Do kirtan. So that's why I'm doing kirtan. And Lord Chaitanya went to his spiritual master and said, every time I do kirtan, I start to cry, like big exact symptoms. So what have you given me? Have I gone mad? He said, no, you have attained love of God by this chanting, Harinam, 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 Kevalo, Kuluna Stevana, 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 Gatchunata. It is a process in this age. So, Paramama realization is being described here, and there are different kinds of introspective devotees who are faithful, but are trying to realize Super Soul by different methods. You have the jnanis and the yogis, the yogis are trying to understand the Super Soul by meditation. So, but this is not recommended in this age. In the Satya Yuga, meditation was the process for God realization. But most of the time, those people who tried to meditate, they were a failure. Vishwamitra Muni was meditating for 60,000 years. And Indra became worried that he was going to become too powerful to take over his post. So he sent an Apsara Menaka, and as soon as Vishwamitra Muni heard the sound of her ankle bells, he was attracted and he broke his meditation. He was not successful. Subhara Muni was in the water of Yamuna for 10,000 years. When Garuda came there to eat one of the fish, he cursed Garuda not to come there anymore, or he'd kill him. And he committed Vaishnava aparad, or Vaishnava interference, and because of that, his meditation was a failure. And we saw two fish copulating. He became agitated, came out of the water after 10,000 years, all wrinkled up, looking horrible. But he went to King Mandapa and said, I want to marry one of your daughters in Mathura. King Mandapa had 50 daughters. So the king said, you can marry any one of my daughters. They have their choice. They can marry anybody they like. But when they saw Sabari Muni, after being in the water for 10,000 years, he wasn't very attractive, so no one wanted to marry him. So then by his mystic potency, he changed his body into a very handsome young man. Then they all agreed to marry him. So he married 50, had 50 wives and 100 children from each wife, 5,000 children. So his yoga practice was not successful. But at the end of his life, he was able to go to the forest with his 50 wives and attain, go back to Godhead. So in this way, these two kind of people, they try to realize the super soul a difficult way by the indirect process, which we are hearing about in the heard about in the 12th chapter and the sixth chapter, the indirect process. But we know Bhakti Mama Bhajananti, that Krishna can only be understood by devotional service. And here it says, the fruit of worker, and the fruit of activities, he's the best of all. One who can work and Krishna consciousness, give the results to Krishna, he's considered the best. And Prabhupada ends his purport in a very funny way. He says that there are others who also try to understand Super Soul by cultivation of knowledge, others who cultivate the Hatha Yoga system, and try to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by childish activities. So how do we understand that? That people practicing yoga nowadays it's a fashionable. There are many yoga studios all over the world. When people go there simply to make their body healthy and thinking they can control their mind in some way or other, become peaceful. Bhoktaram jagata samsara lokameshwaram shridam sarabhutanam yatramam shanti vichati, that you have to accept Krishna as the enjoyer, proprietor, and maintainer to actually get a peaceful mind, not by sitting down with your eyes closed and fall asleep. He said people try to do yoga, but they end up falling asleep. They call this yoga. So it's a childish activity because children play. When Prahlad Maharaj described in the 7th canto that the lifespan of a living entity is 100 years on this planet, and 50 years is spent sleeping. 10 years is spent in childhood. A child from 1 to 10, all he does is want to play. Even though he has to go to school, he doesn't want to, but the parents force him because they know it's good for him. But then between 10 and 20, he's also engaged in sporting activities. And again, this is childish activities. But it doesn't stop there. That, especially in the Western countries, also in India now, there's different sports that grown men and women indulge in and make a lot of money and make a big show and are very famous and get big write-ups in the newspapers and the news for their activities. But it's not any different than when they were a child. The same activities are going on. It's still childish activities, but it's done in a professional way. And the people don't understand this, that this is childish activities. And it doesn't have anything to do with becoming God conscious or the purpose of life, or help anyone in any way improve their lives. So it's become very popular. These things are television, radio, all over the world. They have 24-hour television. You can see these different sporting events going on everywhere. And of course, devotees have promised to follow 4 regular principles: no eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. And also this frivolous sports is included. No frivolous sports, which means we shouldn't play frivolous sports, nor should we watch frivolous sports. So some devotees like to watch cricket. I was in Mayapur, one devotee was sitting in his shop. I went to the Ganga, took a bath, came back, and the devotee was still sitting in the shop. I said, well, why are you sitting here so long? He said, well, I'm watching a cricket match. So I said, well, you came to Mayapur to watch a cricket match? Why, this is a childish activity. I said, cricket is the most boring activity, nothing happens. But the people go mad over it for some reason. But anyway, it's childish activity. So, thus gradually they are come to it says that, talks about the Shankya philosophy, which you can see in the 3rd canto, Lord Kapila Dev, Conversation with Mother Devahuti. There's the atheist Kapila Devi, who gave a Mayavadi interpretation, but the real Kapila Dev was an incarnation of the Lord, and he instructed his mother Devahuti about the nature of the material world and about the different elements. Bhagavad-Gita says, Pumir apo nayo vayu kamano buddhir evacha ankara ityame mina prakriti astada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, altogether these 8 comprise my separated material energy. Besides these, O Arjuna, there's another superior energy of mine, which comprised of living entities who are exploiting the resources of material nature, material inferior nature. And especially today, that exploitation of material nature is going on in a big way. Just recently, one city in India ran out of water because they exploited the water resources, were channeled off in different directions. So the problem was caused by human beings, and they're taking all the oil out of the earth. They have to go 5,000 miles down to find the oil and drill it out of the earth. But the oil is supposed to be there. When Lord Raha appeared, the earth had sunk into the Vraja ocean because of the imbalance caused by sinful people. So the same thing is going to happen sooner or later in this world, because they're taking all the oil out of the earth and replacing it with water. The water doesn't have the same density as oil, and the rotation of the earth is being disturbed. So sooner or later some calamity is going to happen because of this activity. Prabhupada said on our morning walk that this modern civilization would not last for more than 50 years. And that was in 1975, so it's a little longer. So the modern civilization is not going to last very much longer because they're exploiting material nature in so many ways for people's sense gratification, not understanding that living natural, the life that this world was created so people can live naturally. If you live on on the land, have a few cows, grow your own food. You can live peacefully and naturally. You don't need big factories, you don't need electricity, you don't need big cars. They got the cars running on 4 wheels. They think that's a big improvement, but the dog is running on 4 legs, so there's no difference. The only difference is they go faster, and because the cars go so fast, they have so many accidents that so many people die in car accidents every year. So Prabhupada, even though he was he was fearless, when he was riding in the car, the driver was driving too fast, he told him to slow down. Not because he was afraid, because he knew if you drive too fast, you're going to have an accident. Chances of having an accident were more likely. So they created all these things to make life easier and more enjoyable, but it's Maya Sukaya, it's a trick of Maya, that they create all these things, promising all these things that will have a better life, better in the future, everything will be much better. And we heard one class, someone said, they promised that they would bring one man, he was a famous man who died of some disease, and they froze his body, and they promised that in the future they were going to discover a cure for his disease and bring him back to life. Unfortunately, the electricity failed, where they froze his body, and his body thawed out and was all decayed. They couldn't save it. So that rarely happens in the West, in America. The electricity hardly ever goes off. But even their foolish attempt to promise that they're going to bring someone back to life is not possible in any way. And so in this way, they're exploiting material nature. And the other, so this kind of people, Prabhupada went to the West to teach Krishna consciousness, and only by devotional service can one actually become Krishna conscious or understand Javera Subhoy, Krishna and Nityadas, that we're the eternal servants of Krishna, and the living entity, we are individual souls, and as the spirit and the super soul is accompanying the individual soul. Explained like 2 birds on a tree. One bird is watching the activities of the other bird. One bird is eating the fruits on the tree, and the other bird is simply witnessing. So one of these verses says the Lord is the overseer and permitter. So he's just simply witnessing the activities of the living entity. And but he doesn't interfere with their activities. But in case of Srila Prabhupada, one reporter asked Srila Prabhupada, can you talk to God? Can you speak to God? And Prabhupada said, yes, I can speak to God. And one disciple was there, so was trying to explain it in a different way to make it sound reasonable. But Prabhupada cut him off and said, I speak to God. And Prabhupada said, with translation purports, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya, he was taking dictation from the super soul. So this is possible. The learned sage, by true knowledge, can see that the super soul and the individual soul and all living entities. This is the Mahabhagavat. He doesn't see things in a normal way. He sees Krishna and everything. He sees the soul and super soul and everything. So we shouldn't think that there's no soul. The body is working by chemical arrangement. but this is not true. We know that I'm a spirit soul, and as a spirit soul, my activity is to engage in the service of the Lord. And by following the 9 processes of devotional service, beginning with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. When Lord Chaitanya was in South India, he met the Tapavadis, and he asked them how to attain perfection in life, and they said, by following Varnashram Dharma. But Lord Chaitanya knew these people, Tattva-vadis, were proud followers of Madhavacharya, and to reduce their pride, he explained to them that actually this was not the process for attaining perfection. The process was Shravanam Kirtanam, or hearing and chanting the holy name of the Lord, was the best way to attain perfection. So that's what Prabhupada has given us, the best and most sublime method of chanting the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we can hear about these other practices, indirect practices, which will eventually may bring one to Krishna consciousness, to Paramatma realization, then to Bhagavan. It says, Brahmameti Bhagavan iti Paramatma iti Bhagavan iti Sabyate. There are three kinds of realization: Brahman realization, Paramatma realization, and Bhagavan realization, realizing that Krishna is the Supreme Personality Godhead, the all-attractive one, who lives in Vrindavan, Golok Vrindavan, and is always enjoying the company of the gopis and sporting, having his wonderful amorous pastimes. And when he comes to this world, Atmamaya, he comes to this world by Yogamaya's arrangement. He doesn't accept the body of a human being. Although he acts like an ordinary human being at different times, people may understand his position. Supreme Lord comes by his own will and leaves by his own will. We come in this material world not by our own will, and we leave not by our own will. But Krishna comes by his own will, and he leaves by his own will. And this activity is going on all over the different universes. Krishna is having his road show, he's having his pastimes, his Apakara Lila, and demonstrating that he's the Supreme Personality Godhead, and that he can do so many wonderful things. If anyone is claiming to be God, then we would challenge them that you can, let me see you lift Govardhan Hill. When Krishna was 7 years old, he lifted Govardhan Hill with the left hand, little finger was left hand. Or let me see your universal form. So many people, cheaters that are in the world, calling themselves God, but they're just simply cheating innocent public. There's 2 kinds of people in this world, the cheaters and the cheated. So people want to be cheated, they go to a bogus guru who tells them all kinds of, gives them all sorts of promises, and he can produce some magic, and they think he's God. But in actuality, he's not, because he can't do what Krishna did. So we're devotees in the Krishna conscious movement. We never become confused by these kind of people who want to cheat the innocent public. And Prabhupada didn't want cheap followers. These people have hundreds of millions of followers because they don't stress any principles. In our movement, we say no meeting, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and you have to chant 16 rounds, Maha Mantra every day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Or more. So Prabhupada gave some standard so that he wouldn't get cheap followers. And if someone joined his movement, after 6 months, if he followed strictly, then Prabhupada gave him first initiation, Harinam initiation, and then after 1 year, if he was following strictly, he would give him second initiation, Brahman initiation. in this way, he created a society of first-class men, first-class persons who are not engaged in sinful activities, following some cheap guru and doing any old thing and thinking they're making spiritual advancement or they're following some spiritual practice. So our time is up. All I also have to say is that these conversations between Lord Kapila and Devahuti in the Srimad Bhagavatam, you can read that. It's very inspiring, very instructive about the nature of the material world and the movement, the living entity. Gives all this detailed information. And there are, here it says there's 24 elements, and that the 25th element is the individual soul, and the 26th element is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the makeup of the material world. And scientists say, they teach in the chemistry classes there's 50 elements, but those are not real. Those are only what they observe it comes out of the ground, like gold, silver, iron. They call them, these are different elements. But the whole material world is made up of 24 elements, and the 26 altogether. Some say 24, some say 25, 26, but here it says that there are definitely 26 elements which make up the material world. So if you understand this, the last verse says, if you understand this, it says he will not take birth again here, regardless of present position. So this is the way to guarantee that we get out of the material world by understanding nature, and joy, and consciousness. Hare Krishna.